I have my small Bible here, which sometimes I refer to. Now, in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 7, it goes as follows. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever man sows, that he will also reap. This is in the book of the Galatians, verse 7, chapter 6. And then verse 9 says, and let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. When I see what the late Jacob Oulanyah has been able to achieve in the form of contribution, I remember these verses in the Bible. Whatever man sows, that's what he reaps. And if you don't give up, in due season, you will be rewarded. Coming to Oulanyah as a person, again, I have my Bible here. It is old, but the words are there. Luke chapter 10, Luke chapter 10, verses 25. And it says, and behold, a certain lawyer, lawyers of Anangi, a certain lawyer, but lawyers, be careful of lawyers. A certain lawyer stood up and tested him, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said to him, what is written in the law? What is your reading of it? So he answered and said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And then he said to him, you have answered rightly. Do this and you will live. But he, wanting to justify himself, said to Jesus, and who is my neighbor? Then Jesus answered and said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among the thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him for dead. Now by chance, a certain priest came down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. The priest did not help. Likewise, a Levite, when he arrived at the place, came and looked and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds poured in on oil and wine. He set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I come again, I will repay you." So which of these 3 do you think was the neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he answered, "He who showed mercy on him." So this is Oulanyah. When you solve people's problems, when you are a brother and a sister to other people, you become the good neighbor. In other words, in other portions of the Bible, they talk of, we shall know them by their fruits. We know people by what they did. Now, Oulanyah, you have heard people talking about him. He was young, but he had already made impact. We in the NRM, I think we first dealt with him when he was on the legal committee of parliament, although he was still in the opposition. And that's how we started seeing that he was somebody of potential. And when he came, he made very big contribution. Now again the Bible. In the book of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 14. I'm quoting the Bible because that's the one I know a bit about. I would quote the Quran if I knew much about it, but I'm sure Hachigongo will, when time comes, he will be able to get the equivalents from the Quran. I'm sure they are there. So Matthew chapter 25, verse 14. I don't have to read it. If you are Christians, you would have heard of the story of the talents. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. This is the story of the talents. I don't have to read it, you must have heard about it. There are those who multiplied the talents and their master was happy with them, and there are those who did not use their talents well and their master was not happy with them. Now, this is Oulanyah again. The use of talents. You have heard that he was an orator, he was a good speaker. But you can be an orator for bad things and an orator for good things. That he was hardworking. Now, when we supported him, when we identified him and supported him to take responsibilities as a deputy speaker for 10 years, he used that time to multiply his talents. So therefore, losing Oulanyah now is a big loss, because he was somebody definitely who was coming up, and the country was going to get a lot of benefits from him. He had already done a good job in uniting northern Uganda. Now, but when death robs us of some our people who are useful, in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 13, I've taken time, it's taking time to, but it says, rend ye your hearts, not just your clothes. The Jews had the habit of tearing clothes when somebody died. Joel said, no, don't just have external, have the internal, the internal sorrow and compassion for the person who was died. And that means what? It means two things. One, you have already done. I want to salute the Chief Justice and others who have thought of the Oulanyah Education Fund. Instead of just mourning and crying and all that only, see how to support the children. And the government will contribute to that fund after so that the family continues.